Okay, so you probably clicked on this video thinking that I'd give a detailed explanation on the layout of the caves in Sly 3 on Among Thieves, or maybe why they're actually the best part of episode 2. Well, it's actually neither of those. Today, I'll be giving some insight into the dynamic difficulty that goes on behind the scenes of Sly 3 and how its implementation differed between a specific mission, between a Sly 3 prototype, and the final game. First of all, what do I mean by dynamic difficulty? I just mentioned it here, and if you've been following my comparison series between Sly 3's July prototype and the final NTSC build, you'll have seen my mentions of it there as well. Basically, there's a variable within the game known as suck, which is responsible for determining how much the player is sucking at the game, and depending on how the player is playing the game, it'll automatically increase or decrease. Clever, right? But how do you, as the player, notice this? Well, the most obvious way is by paying attention to how much damage you take from an environmental hazard or from a guard's attack. Using Cheat Engine, we're able to figure out that Sly starts off with 40 hit points, and by default, Sly takes 10 damage when he's attacked by a guard, or 1/4 of his health. The corresponding suck value to this is 0.0, or the player isn't sucking at all. Yet. If the player ends up dying without having killed any guards, the suck value goes up a bit, and every 0.1 increment of suck results in different changes to the player's damage, up until the suck value is 1.0, which means you're really sucking. Through some experimentation, I'm able to determine the following damage counts corresponding to suck values. Of course, since this is a dynamic difficulty, you're able to lower the suck value by defeating guards, not dying for a sustained period of time, and so on. I'm not sure about what all goes into affecting the suck value, but for the purposes of this video, that explanation will not be necessary. Okay, so that's how the suck parameter works on a general level. But as I found out while experimenting in the Dark Caves mission, the suck parameter manifested itself in another way: the amount of time the player is given to escape the caves. For those who don't know, Dark Caves, the mission, involves the player as Sly to traverse through 2 caves via some simple platforming challenges. In each cave, they reach a safe that they unlock before realizing that they have to escape the cave because the item they just received is booby-trapped. Of course, the player only has a certain amount of time to escape the cave, and this time is dictated by how high or how low the suck parameter is, except in the July prototype. Allow me to explain. Taking the final build as an example, let's look at the first cave. If your suck value is 0.0, remember, this means you're doing extremely well at the game, then you're given 55 seconds to get out of the cave. But if you're doing really badly at the game, your suck value is at 1.0 and you're given 80 seconds to get out of the cave. Pretty cool, right? Here's the entire table and associated graph showing how the suck value affects the time to escape. However, if we take a look at the July build, the suck value does not affect the time whatsoever. Regardless of how good or bad you're doing at the game, you're always given 55 seconds to escape, as if your suck value were 0.0. Maybe you're thinking, well, the suck value probably isn't playing a role at all in this area of the game, but in fact I am still taking the amount of damage that corresponds to my current suck value, so it is playing some part in this area, just not all of its parts. A similar story plays out in the second cave. In the final build, if you're doing amazing at the game, you've got a suck value of 0.0 and 80 seconds to escape. Doing terribly, you've got a suck value of 1.0 and 120 seconds to escape. Of course, the July build only gives you 80 seconds to escape across the board. So, coming back to the title of this video, yeah, the caves in the July prototype don't suck, at least not completely. At this point, you probably have a couple of questions. Why was the July build like this? And is it also like this in the August prototype? I can't really answer the first question because I don't really know much about game development, but I can surmise 2 possible answers. One, maybe suck-dependent times were planned but weren't yet implemented in this specific July build. Or 2, maybe suck-dependent times hadn't been playtested yet, so maybe the game was meant to not incorporate the suck value into the timer, but then was changed later in development. but I can only speculate. Just a quick interjection from post-production Shrev here. After recording most of this, I ran the August 2nd, 2005 prototype through its paces and found that it follows the exact same pattern as the July prototype that has been the focus of this video. Keep in mind that the final build, the final game, is dated almost 4 weeks later, August 28th, 2005, so somehow the suck variable didn't affect the timer until extremely late into development. As I mentioned before, I can only speculate as to why. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this bit of a deep dive into a part of Sly 3's underworkings. Do let me know if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos from me. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.